Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I hope that the House will join me in offering our thoughts and prayers for the victims and the families of the plane crash, the American Airlines plane crash that collided in the Potomac this morning. And I believe the leader will join me in rejoicing in the return of more of the Israeli hostages today as well. And Madam Deputy Speaker, it is an honor to be responding to the Leader of the House. Serving with the Right Honourable Lady on the Modernization Committee, I have seen the energy she puts into bringing this House into the second quarter of the 21st century. And we are lucky to have someone so persuasive in her position who really listens to members.
Wait.
Here we go.
No buts, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I approach these business questions in that spirit. And one innovation that would be very welcome would be if the Leader of the House would commit now to our Opposition Day debate dates, which we still haven't had. Another innovation that would be extremely welcome would be for the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero to find time to reply to numerous letters sent by members of this side of the House. Perhaps she could persuade him to do so. Maybe the leader could have more luck with the Chancellor. As each week passes, our constituents face more and more negative consequences from the Chancellor's disastrous budget. Last week, the ONS revealed a staggering 47,000 drop in employment in December. Wow. This is the sharpest fall in employment since the pandemic. Job vacancies have also collapsed. The day before the Chancellor's budget, where she launched her attack on British businesses, there were 858,000 job vacancies in our economy. Now they have fallen to just 740,000, a drop of 14% in just 2 months. I know the Chancellor is proud of being the first female Chancellor. But wouldn't it be even better if she was known as the Chancellor who was brave enough to change course? Because of her budget, business confidence has collapsed. Because of her budget, growth has collapsed. Because of her budget, employment is falling and unemployment is rising. Because of her budget, UK gilt yields are at an eye-watering level. Because of her budget, mortgage rates are now rising, despite the Chancellor promising she would bring them down. Now, we have seen a glimmer of hope with the Chancellor's U-turn on non-doms, which has caused some of the UK's biggest taxpayers to flee her socialist nightmare. It is a welcome U-turn, but I feel for the Leader of the House and the members opposite. I can't imagine they ever thought they would be explaining why a Labour government has U-turned on punishing non-doms, but not on punishing pensioners. So, will the Leader of the House seek to persuade the Chancellor to be bold, change course again, and spare British pensioners, farmers, businesses, workers, and households from more economic pain? Can we have a debate in government time to explore the many areas in which a Chancellor U-turn would indeed be welcome? If not, will she ask the Chancellor to be bold and U-turn on punishing pensioners and reinstate their winter fuel payments? Will she ask the Chancellor to be bold and U-turn to spare family farms who have put food on our table from her tax raid? Will she ask the Chancellor to be bold and U-turn to save businesses that create jobs, wealth, and growth in this country from her catastrophic national insurance tax raid? Will she ask the Chancellor to be bold and U-turn on her 1970s-style tax and borrowing spree to protect the households now facing rising mortgage costs because of her? This is a task that I hope the Leader of the House will agree is in the interest of this House, its members, and the people of this country.
Leader of the House.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I also share all of our thoughts with those affected by the air crash in Washington, DC. The scale of this tragedy is still unfolding, and I'm sure we would all join in sending our deepest sympathy to all of those involved and those still involved in the rescue operation. This week is also, we saw the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. No one could ever forget visiting Auschwitz-Birkenau, as I did with young people from my constituency with the Holocaust Education Trust. We must never forget. And as today, I will join her in welcoming the further hostage as released in Israel and Gaza today. And members will have noticed that the Speaker is not in his chair today, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I can assure colleagues he's not taking up a new acting role on the set of Emmerdale, but he is instead celebrating the life of another Northern legend at the funeral of Lord Prescott. But can I particularly welcome the Honourable Lady to Business Questions today on her birthday, and very much welcome her birthday. I very much welcome working with her on the Modernisation Committee. I found her contributions to be greatly valuable and enlightening, and I know she does a really good job acting as a whip and as a constituency MP and supporting colleagues across this House. I might suggest that, given her contribution today, she could perhaps give a few tips to the shadow leader when he returns on taking that approach. Because she has taken a very business question style approach, I feel. But I certainly will follow up with the Secretary of State for net zero if there are issues there around correspondence. She does raise issues around the economy, but I would just gently remind her of a few of the stats in that regard. Inflation is down now, thanks to this government. Wages are growing at their fastest rate in 3 years. We've created more than 70,000 new jobs since we came into office, and business investment is at its highest levels for 19 years. And PwC have just rated the UK the second best place in the world to invest after the US. And the IMF and the OECD both predict that Britain will be Europe's fastest growing major economy in recent years. So I would just gently remind her of that, because this government is getting on with the job, and it's been another week of delivering the change that people voted for. The Border Security and Immigration Bill will today be introduced, with real action to tackle small boats and smuggling gangs, in contrast to their costly Rwanda gimmick. The Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill gets its second reading next week, despite the promises from the party opposite, who failed to bring it forward. And this important piece of legislation will address the huge costs of fraud in our welfare system. And we've set out, as she says, we have set out major strides to get growth going, taking the difficult, bold decisions that she asked for. And many of these issues actually have been raised in business question over recent weeks. The Oxford-Cambridge Growth Corridor, creating UK's answer to Silicon Valley. The redevelopment of the huge site around the Old Trafford football ground, which, as a City fan, I can even welcome that. And thanks to the tireless campaigning of Mr Doncaster Airport himself,